what happens to the human soul and body during the first night in the grave. In the Holy Quran, Allah declares that behind the deceased lies the Barzakh, a barrier until the day of resurrection. From Abraham and Moses to Jesus, all prophets taught the reality of the afterlife. The final prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, detailed the grave's questioning and the soul's profound awakening, matching what modern science observes as the body's final biological surrender. As the first night in the grave reaches its deepest point, the physical body has surrendered to the cold earth and the spiritual interrogation has fallen silent. The soul has been measured and the biological transition is well underway. But before the first night concludes, a final transformative event occurs. A moment where the narrow walls of the grave seem to dissolve and a window is opened to the beyond. This is the moment where the soul is shown the ultimate consequence of its earthly journey, a vision that will define its experience until the end of time. As the midpoint of the night passes, the atmosphere within the grave shifts once more. The heavy silence of the soil is broken by a metaphysical opening. Tradition and spiritual narratives across cultures describe this as it is not a physical window of glass and frame, but a spiritual rift that bypasses the constraints of time and space. For the soul, this is the most critical juncture of the first night. The isolation of the burial is interrupted by a vivid, undeniable preview of what lies ahead. This vision is not a suggestion or a dream. It is the finality of a destination. Imagine the soul, having navigated the shock of death and the weight of its own deeds, now standing at the edge of this rift. The window serves as a bridge between the Barzakh, the Interspace, and the final realms of existence. In these quiet hours between midnight and the spiritual dawn, the soul is granted a sight that clarifies everything. All the confusion of life, all the doubts of faith, and all the complexities of morality are distilled into a single panoramic view. This vision is the ultimate closure of the first night, setting the emotional and spiritual tone for the long wait that follows. It is the point where the soul truly understands the weight of the last breath and the reality of the new existence it has entered. For those whose lives were defined by light, compassion, and a commitment to their higher purpose, the window opens to the right. As the third hour of this final phase begins, the soul is greeted by the view of paradise. This is not merely a visual experience, it is a sensory immersion that defies the stifling reality of the grave. Through the window, the soul sees a realm of impossible beauty, landscapes that stretch beyond the horizon, bathed in a light that does not scorch, but heals. The colors are described in sacred traditions as more vivid than anything seen on earth, and the architecture of this realm is constructed of the very virtues the person practiced in life. But the most striking aspect of the view of paradise is the scent. As the window opens, a fragrance wafts into the grave, cutting through the smell of damp earth and the musk of decay. It is the scent of a perfume of musk, saffron, and celestial flowers. This aroma carries with it a profound sense of peace. For the righteous soul, the grave no longer feels like a prison or a dark hole in the ground. Because of this vision and this scent, the grave expands as far as the eye can see. The pressure of the earth, which we explored in the biological transition, is no longer felt as a weight, but as a gentle, protective embrace. The view of paradise serves a crucial purpose in the timeline of the first night. It is the ultimate comfort. It provides the soul with the hope and the certainty needed to endure the long wait of the interspace. The soul is told, in essence, that its work is done and its reward is waiting. This vision acts as a spiritual anesthetic, turning the darkness of the tomb into a foyer for the divine. The soul can now settle into its rest, buoyed by the sight of its ultimate home, watching the celestial dawn through a window that will never truly close. It is a moment of profound validation, where every secret act of kindness and every moment of patient endurance is manifested in the shimmering vistas of the beyond. However, the window also reveals a different reality. For the soul that turned away from its purpose, that embraced darkness or ignored the call of conscience, the window opens to the left. The glimpse of fire is a somber, terrifying observation of what was earned or what was narrowly avoided. The air that wafts through this side of the window is not scented with flowers, but heavy with the smell of smoke and the searing heat of a distant conflagration. The light here is not healing, but a harsh, flickering glow that reveals a realm of shadow and regret. This vision is a stark reminder of the gravity of human choice. The soul is shown its place in the aakhir, a destination of isolation and sorrow. In some traditions, this glimpse is shown even to the righteous, not as a threat, but as a revelation of what they have been saved from, a way to increase their gratitude and their joy. But for those destined for it, the vision is the start of a different kind of vigil. The grave does not expand. It feels as though it is constricting, reflecting the spiritual narrowness of the life lived above. The glimpse of fire is the ultimate weight, heavier than the thousands of pounds of soil pressing down from the surface. As the clock moves toward the final minutes of the first night, the visions begin to stabilize. The window remains, but the initial shock of the revelation fades into a steady state of being. The soul enters the Barzakh, the Interspace. This is the realm between the world of the living and the final day of judgment. The active events of the first night, the transition, the interrogation, the biological cooling, and the opening of the window have all reached their conclusion. The soul now settles into a passive state of waiting. The Barzakh is a unique dimension where time does not flow as it does on the surface. For the soul in the grave, the hours may feel like minutes, or the centuries may feel like a single afternoon, depending on the vision they behold through their window. The first night has served its purpose. It has stripped away the illusions of the material world and anchored the soul in its true reality. The body is now one with the earth, its carbon and elements returning to the cycle of life, while the consciousness is one with its destiny. As the spiritual dawn of the first night approaches, we reflect on the journey we have mapped. We began with the final breath, witnessing the immediate departure of the spirit and the shock of the transition. We followed the soul through the lonely hours of the first burial, the meeting with the manifestations of its own character, and the rigorous interrogation of its legacy. We looked at the cold, hard facts of the body's biological surrender to the earth, and finally, we have stood at the window to the beyond. The first night in the grave is the most significant 24 hours any human will ever experience. It is the ultimate transition, a bridge between the temporary and the eternal. It is the moment when the last breath taken in the world of light becomes the first breath of the soul in the world of truth. Every minute of this timeline is a testament to the continuity of existence, that we are not merely physical beings destined for the dust, but spiritual travelers whose journey only truly begins when the lights of the world go out. The window to the beyond remains open, a silent witness to the life that was and the eternity that is to come. The first night is over, the long wait has begun. As we conclude this exploration, let us remember that the timeline of the grave is written by the choices made in the sun. The first night is not an end, but a revelation, a mirror held up to the soul, showing us that what we carry within is the only thing that remains when everything else is stripped away. The journey continues, the window stays open, and the soul rests in the interspace, waiting for the final dawn.